Donald, once again, thank you for taking time out to record one more podcast, because you've been running this business for 13 years now. You started off this business in 2010. 13 years down the line, the business has gone through a change. What has changed in terms of handling the VAs who worked remotely back then to today? You've come from a background where you managed every aspect of the business when you started it off. You've put a team in place who now looks after the various aspects of the operations. Otherwise, you've been a one-man army. Given the fact that human capital remains consistent,
When I started, it wasn't like this, where we started from a small room. It used to be fun. In fact, I was one of the dialers over there. It took us almost like 2 years. We had problems back then as well. It was not this difficult.
Donald, once again, thank you for taking time out to record one more podcast. This was an interesting topic, and the reason I wanted to get your thoughts on this particular one, because you've been running this business for 13 years now. So without diving into what did we do for 13 years, because we covered that topic in a different video, let's quickly jump in. You started off this business in 2010, right? 13 years down the line, the business has gone through a change.
Yeah.
What hasn't changed is one aspect of the business, which is the human input, the virtual assistants that we deploy for our client partners. That has remained consistent over the years.
Yeah.
So what has changed in terms of handling the VAs who worked remotely back then to today? Have you seen that change? Especially, it becomes an even more important question because you've come from a background where you managed every aspect of the business when you started it off. It's only in the past 1.5 years, 2 years is when you've really expanded the business, and then you've put a team in place who now looks after the various aspects of the operations. Otherwise, you've been a one-man army for a very long period of time, which means you've experienced every possible challenge firsthand before anyone can give you unnecessary gyan, as we would typically call it, on how to run operations. So given the fact that human capital remains consistent even in 2010 and 2023, what change have you seen in terms of handling this human capital, especially because everyone in our business, everyone that we get on our payroll works remote?
So when I started, it wasn't like this. It was easy because back then we believed, we didn't know much about remote functionality. And it was traditional business like, any other BPO setup, where we started from a small room, as small, even smaller than this, where we had we rented 1 BHK apartment, and we had 4 people sitting and dialing and selling products for someone else. We used to utilize the other rooms for maybe catching up with some sleep and rest, maybe, unwind ourselves, stuff like that. It used to be fun because it was way too easy, because less people to monitor. In fact, I was one of the dialers over there. Yeah, so I used to finish my freelance assignments, come back at night, because it was kind of fun to be with people that are trying to run for something that you have envisioned, and they probably also shared that same vision. And from 4 people, it took us almost 2 years to ramp the show to almost show up to 50 people. So we had British Telecom contracts, we had AT&T contracts, and then we had DirecTV contracts. Likewise, we had Sprint Mobile as well. So how did we have these contracts? My clients were the distributors, basically, not the end customers. This is how the BPO industry and the IT industry worked back then, and it's still like that. The IT industry pretty much functions very much like that, right? They work in layers, the multi-vendor layer, So AT&T outsources a project to someone, level A vendor, and then the level A vendor looks out for another partner, and then the project cascades to maybe 11th or 12th or 13th level. That's how things are done. Right now it has downsized to maybe 7 or 6 even. Right, back then we were working in level 3 or level 4. Right, so we had 2 vendors above us. Right, that's how I got to sign up contracts with them. They had expectations. They had we had CCTV cameras to monitor people. and it was pretty much easy to monitor 50 people. It was just one manager manning one shift like for 12 hours, right? So it was we had problems back then as well, but then it was not this difficult because we could see how long people are out on break, and then are they really on dialers or they're off dialers, and if we had to give feedback, listening to their barging their calls, and we could easily give them feedback, because call them for feedback sessions, because they were available under one roof. It was very easy back then. And people, for some reason, they were used to that kind of work culture where they believed in working for maybe like 6 to 7 hours, and the rest, maybe 1 to 2 hours, were for breaks. Even back then, the productive hours were 6, maximum 7 hours, right? But they were really, really productive back then, right? Maybe we were reaching out to 300 people on an average per day. Yeah. I'm talking about the sales guys, and the support guys would land up talking to maybe like 100 or 150 odd people, right? On an average. And then we didn't have chats. We didn't have emails back then. When we started, it was purely calls. So the problem that we had back then was like, giving people the facilities, like if you want them to work OT, we had to shed a huge amount of money, because they would end up spending more time here physically. And we would also have to consider the facility, infrastructure expenses. And keeping that, we always had these arguments like, OTs were not enough to cover the extra shifts and stuff like that. But we managed it somehow, and people were really, reliable back then. Right now, with the advent of technology, and technology makes people lazy. That's what they say. Like, things have become really, really easy. We saw how people transition from making 300 calls to just 100 calls, because in a very short while, we had these CRMs called Zendesk.
Correct.
And pretty much, I don't remember anything else than Zendesk. And Zendesk made it possible for people to log into that one CRM, attend calls over there. Calls would get recorded, and the chats would come into the same inbox. We could reply the chats and probably assign the chat to someone else that you feel that you need to send that chat through to, and maybe emails as well. Everything under one roof. So the volumes of the call got shrunk. We were still under one roof. Yes. And that's when something happened. The projects, we lost a lot of contracts, because these big companies there in the US were wanting to choose Philippines as their favorite destinations for outsourcing. And it was kind of a shock for all of us. Yeah, I had to face that myself. We lost 3 big clients.
Exactly.
Well-paying clients.
So while Philippines played a part back then in terms of the India side of operations suddenly seeing the voice projects being taken away, today lots of clients that you've just mentioned, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, have put in very stringent outsourcing requirements per se, wherein they do not allow for anyone from a foreign soil to make any further pitches. And why would how do I know this is again for one of our client partners who deal in utility management, when they wanted to offer telecom, cable and internet services to their end clients, first preference was AT&T, because you get everything under one roof, all 3 services. We hit a road bump when the idea was to outsource this entire piece to our team in India.
Right.
And AT&T point blank refused to sign the contract if that was going to be their way of managing business. So initially Philippines played their part in becoming a roadblock for us, and now it seems customer experience also took a further hit when Philippines started dialing, and then these companies realized that if they have to give a consistent experience to their paying customers, they need to bring back these sales operations within United States itself. You mentioned that back then you had CCTV cameras that would help you monitor people if they are picking up calls, if they are dialing, if they are on break, etc. Obviously now, because the operations are remote, the way to monitor them is different, right? CCTV cameras can be an option, but that's an expensive proposition if we have to install them in everyone's home. That's the first thing that we run into, is a breach of privacy for them, because you just can't be recording their homes, right? Has there been a mindset change in people when they were okay to be on a CCTV camera inside an office, but they do not want to turn on the cameras on a Zoom call or a Google Meet call, just when you ask them to come on a call so that it's easier to monitor them?
See, I mean, there is still a lot of debate around this one particular thing. Like, a lot of people who started their careers in BPOs maybe 15 years ago or 13 years ago, they wouldn't agree with the mindset, comply or maybe match with the mindset of the people who just started maybe 5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Things have changed over the course of time. Like I was just trying to tell you about the transition that we have seen from office to homes. We decided to move the entire operations home-based back in 2014. All right. And why did we do that? For cost arbitrage. US was just trying to recover from this shock of that recession, 2008 recession. Everyone stuck with $3 and $4 per hour, and then they would not have that kind of heavy volumes now. And everyone was talking about outsourcing it to Philippines, and people were still talking about automations even back then. Yeah, a few of the prospects that could never be my clients kept talking about automations and how would I justify the costs, because I started from an home operation, right? So I understood, how about we give the same opportunity to people where people can work from their own respective homes. And I heard about this because we were constantly in touch with the US economy, US businessmen and working moms there in the US. So it was not something new there in America. Remote opportunities were not new there in America. So I thought of implementing the same thing here. It was not that difficult, but it was a little difficult because internet was not that strong here in India.
Back then, no.
Yes, we were still struggling between 3G and 4G maybe.
Even the home broadband connections,
Yes.
which
Not that
the
great.
state-run telecom companies provided, and the local cable operators,
They were like 10 Mbps, 10 Mbps, 5 Mbps upload and 10 Mbps download kind of thing. And they were not stable most of the times. We had our share of miseries, call drops, and it was not that easy. But then we did manage the show, and that's when we started working from home. And I guess we had almost like 3 to 4 people. We had a few clients in America and few clients in the UK, and we never had an Australian client, by the way. From 3 to 4 people now, we are almost like 58 people. All right. We had more than this and we downsized a little bit, I guess.
2020 was a back-breaking year. Right before COVID hit, 2 of our largest clients took a very bad hit when their end clients pulled the plug on them. And we were obviously a preferred outsourcing partner for both of these large clients, and that really broke our backs, which
Right.
I agree.
Absolutely. So 58 people in India, we think it's a big number for us. Okay. And still to come, still to grow more. The challenges that we face right now, the mindsets, people have somehow gotten used to work less. The idea, how do you do it? Get more done and work less, which simply means that you could be everywhere. Like maybe managing chats, maybe managing emails, and maybe attending a few calls here and there and making a few calls here and there. So over the course of time, we also, why did this change happen? Because a lot of youngsters, even there in America, the consumers basically, the young consumer didn't want to spend much time over the phone if they are not one of their family members, that they choose to speak, right? And that's how we too are here in India now, I guess. I mean, we don't want to be on the phone. And that's where these technological advancements brought in the concept of chatting through social media apps, having pages on social media where you can interact with the service provider. And that's where you're prone to the chats and the emails probably. Yeah, and then a few calls here and there. People still rely on calls if they need something, if they need a response, immediate response. So calls are the way to go. Like, you got to pick up the phone and maybe talk to people. So the reluctancy over the course of the time, people got used to serving a lot of non-voice based communication. And now people are so reluctant because they got into their comfort zones. They don't want to get in front of the camera. They don't want to get over the phone because that has always been there. Like, they got into a comfort zone, and it's now difficult for people to move them, push them from one zone to the another one, right? So that's something that we are seeing. People are really not comfortable getting over the phone, really not comfortable getting over the video calls. We were comfortable because we worked in front of CCTV cameras 24/7 maybe, right? So that's the thing. And it's very difficult to move people. It's very difficult to help people change their habits, Let that be for good or bad. People can change their habits for bad, for sure. I mean,
very quickly.
Yeah, because it's still comforting. It's still comforting. But then if it is for good and you got to put in a little bit of efforts to move out of that so-called comfort zone that is making you, that is kind of a slow poison, you will still like to choose to consume that slow poison. It's like, choosing soda over water.
It's difficult.
Right?
It is.
So that's it. I mean, we're still facing that difficulty. And I'd like to ask you, like, how do you manage this huge of a team with the tools that we have? Is it easy? What did we try to do that? We have tried a permutation and combination of almost everything. Like, I remember you and me having this discussion where we asked people where we spoke about having everyone work on videos. And then we realized, oh my God, we are trying to breach privacy. Not breach, but then people are not going to be comfortable working from home. And there is no point you call it work from home. Like, we wanted people to enjoy the work as well. People being people unknowingly like to take advantage of the lenience that you give. Like, probably I have been like that when I was a kid or maybe a teenager. So we all have been like that. So someone has to teach us, right? So you tell me what you've been doing and what are the advancements and what kind of outcry did you get to face?
Well, so I'll probably first develop upon a point that you did bring up, which said that there is this mindset that people have gotten to of working less and doing more.
Yeah.
And then you tied that point to the fact that businesses now have social media pages, have multiple platforms where people can initiate chats. Technology has also made things easier for people to have access to a lot of these tools on their phone. And more often than not, people obviously are intelligent when they want to. So even they will first find a mobile first alternative to everything.
Yep.
If it's a Facebook page, it's easier to get access to as an admin on that page from your client partner, and then start handling those interactions right from your phone. Zendesk has a mobile app apart from a desktop application and a web-based application. A lot of property management softwares that are short-term rental clients currently utilize all have a mobile application, making it easy for anyone to have access to all of these applications on their phone and practically be anywhere and work. The idea of being anywhere and working sounds very, very intriguing, right? You're not stuck to a location. You can be wherever you want to and still be working. That's where the story ends.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Is because unless and until you're in a managerial position, it is impossible to be loyal to your work while moving around, especially if you're in a doer role.
Yeah.
Imagine, and this is a real life situation that we faced. One of our agents is supposed to be logged in. We receive a login message, convinced that the VA is actually on shift. An hour later, we receive a ping from our client partner stating that a message has gone unanswered for about 45 minutes. What happened? Back then, even though we ran a quick exercise to check if people really need to access certain applications over the phone, we realized that it is easier so that people can be comfortable while working from home, not be forced to be glued to the systems for the entire 9-hour shift. So we did give them that permission to access these applications from the phone. And that's when people started misusing that privilege. That's when we realized that our agent had actually gone ahead and put in a login message, but she was out parties. And this is where I said that the story ends there when you start thinking that I can work from anywhere. Because when you are in a mode to enjoy yourself, work is not the first thing that comes to your mind, right?
Absolutely.
You are amongst people having fun in a social setup. Yes, that's it. That's your mindset.
Right.
You're not going to pull out your phone every 5 minutes to check if there is a message there that you need to respond to. That's when we realized that while we were being nice to allow people to have these applications on their phone and so that they can enjoy the aspect of working from home, we decided to then strictly review the permissions that we were giving to the agents to be utilizing these applications on their phone, unless and until there is a business justification. And here it could be there are a set of tools that our client partners use which do not have a web-based presence. Yeah. They do not have a web application or a desktop application. They can only be accessed over the phone. Only for these applications, we approve an exception for people to access these applications from their phone. If at all, a particular application has a web-based hook or a desktop-based application, then don't get any other approval to access them from the phone, because now we've realized people will find a loophole to take advantage of your leniency, and then people receiving brickbats are my managers, right? Yeah. It's easy for an agent to come back and say, I'm sorry, I missed a message. Right. But when that sorry leads to loss of business for the client partner, my managers at the receiving end justifying why we should not be taking that billing loss when the client lost a book. One of the things that we've absolutely implemented is no further accessing of client applications from their phones. Now, before I dwell further, you did mention you wanted to add a point.
Yeah, like this whole concept of work from home, we not just started this for cost arbitrage, but at the same time for people to enjoy this, because we understood like you got to be, if you're happy, if not happy, just content with your work. Like, you like to come back to your screen every day from a favorite place of yours. You would feel like to come and do things for a certain number of hours, right? Every day. It's really boring to work from one place every day. When you do not have colleagues sitting right next to you, because now you don't have a motivation apart from someone trying to give you some bonus or incentive for your good deeds or performances. At office-based environment, it becomes, you always are looking up to that meeting periods where you would go and sit beside your colleagues and you could meet them on breaks, chit-chat, maybe bitch about your bosses, whatsoever, just to unwind yourself from the frustrations. I would encourage those. They're really nice. But we lack those things when people are working individually from their homes. We did try bringing several concepts where people could enjoy these things. Like, you could have any of your colleagues which are around you to work with you at your place. Like, you could always do that if you have a good internet speed. And you could travel during your week offs and then be somewhere, like check into a nice hotel that has got nice internet connection. All right. If you rely some portable internet connections, which I doubt that is going to help you to sustain the shifts throughout, I wouldn't know, but I have done that. I've been on long video calls. I don't know how that functions when you're sitting with multiple windows. Yeah, then it could be a little tricky. And that's the reason we still say that you need to have a strong Wi-Fi network, and good 5-star, maybe 3-star hotels would always have very strong internet connections. You could always tell them that would come for a little premium price, and you could always, nowadays everyone is moving and working. Yeah, so you will end up paying a little premium to these hotels, and then you could check in and then probably work and enjoy your off working hours. You could always do this. But then again, if you're trying to cut the corners, and that's when you land into problems.
That's when things start going south for you and for the business.
Yeah. Right? So I remember that I kept using these lines when I was trying to recruit, when I was a part of recruitment as well. I would tell people that you can work from anywhere, wherever you got your system. Like if you have a decent laptop, like anything which is equivalent to i5 and above, and which has got RAM of at least, like, I'm getting into too much of details. Yeah. So maybe RAM that is like 4 GB and above, you're good to go. And you have an internet connection. Let that be a mobile internet connection, which has equivalent to 50 Mbps or maybe 20 Mbps and above, upload and download. There are several ways to check speeds. Right? You're good to go, and you have a nice headset. Cool. Any which ways, you're not on back-to-back calls. If you're smart enough to handle your work from anywhere, we don't mind.
There is a big if in that statement that you made, that if you are smart enough to handle your work from anywhere. And we sort of realized that in a lot of ways when we had to handle situations like one that I just mentioned, someone is out partying when she was supposed to be on shift. So now we no further actually encourage people during the recruitment that you can work from anywhere. We drill in that idea that this is work from home and not fun from home. And we literally use that statement that this is not fun from purely for the fact that while we run a very serious business, and for us this is our way of making a difference, and obviously our bread and butter as well. A lot of other organizations and individuals have made a mockery of the work from home concept.
Oh yes.
And that mockery has led to a general consensus being made in people's minds that working from home is relaxing and still getting paid for doing nothing. Our recruitment is also very, very stringent.
Right.
Because everyone in our organization works remote. So that increases the intensity of the screening through which a candidate goes before we put our faith into that individual and decide to onboard the person. We discourage the idea of working from anywhere. I know that's different from the ideology that you once started the business with, but we give that privilege to individuals that we know will not mess up with them.
Yes. So
and they earn that privilege after we've seen their work over a period of 1 to 2 months or 3 months, when we know that the person has been consistent,
yes,
has never missed any working day, they haven't had any escalations for that individual from the client partner. Everything has been worked as per the SOPs that have been provided to them.
Absolutely.
That's when the managers then take an informed decision and say, well, now this individual can be given the permission to be working from anywhere, provided they remain honest and transparent with us.
Right.
Which means we are happy if someone decides to go to a Manali and enjoy the cold weather over there while working. Encourage that. But be transparent with the idea that tell your manager that you will be traveling. You manage your week offs in such a way that you travel on your week offs, and by then once you're there, you are able to log in. And don't set unrealistic expectations, right? There is no way that you'll be traveling, you'll be in the bus traveling to Manali and you say that I'll handle the messages from the bus.
Yeah.
Impossible.
It's not possible.
It's impossible. So that's the message we try and drive within the team as well, that you will earn that privilege, but at least take the steps to earn that privilege.
Right.
Now you mentioned that what kind of monitoring mechanisms we tried out in trying to handle the teams.
Yeah.
It has ranged from hounding them. It has ranged from checking the screenshots in the time tracking software. It has ranged from asking people to join a Zoom call or a Google Meet call and turn on their videos. And it has come to a point where we now ask everyone to join a common bridge call. They can keep their videos and mics turned off until and unless a vigilance team finds out that person X is inactive for more than 30 minutes. The moment we receive that confirmation from a vigilance team, that's when that person is picked up and said, turn on your video, get off mute, share your screen, let me see what you're doing. Did people like it? Absolutely. Why? Is because we're obviously putting people in a zone that they were not used to, right? Yeah. It obviously had a pushback from a lot of other individuals saying that you're trying to pinpoint on our honesty. And my honest response to the team was that if you are honest to your work and loyal to your work, I don't think this measure should impact you in any way, because you're not missing out on work, you're not making any mistakes at work. So how does it matter that you have to log into one bridge and go on mute and keep your video off?
Right.
Because you're not making mistakes.
Right.
If you're continuously at your system, the vigilance team will not find you missing.
Yeah.
And if you're not found missing, then, well, there is no ping coming in to check on you.
Right. I have, again, a very interesting point to be light on. Like a lot of people, I know a lot of call center people, like, people who did work with call centers for very long time, where they had to take numerous amounts of calls throughout their shifts. Like, it was really tough back then. I did see how the operations work at my company, at someone else's company, and big brands like JP Morgan Chase and Serco. During my training, when I used to deliver trainings for these companies, I did walk the floors and I realized people back then were really workaholics. They had to be workaholics to sustain that kind of. They didn't have choice, and they had that. They developed that habit. Right now, maybe people are getting very sensitive for XYZ reasons, health issues, lifestyle. Maybe bad eating habits or wrong sitting positions.
I think lifestyle plays the most important role, and they be cranky about everything.
Yes. So it might come really, people might come after me for saying this, but then I would still like to say this, that we do not have this kind of volume that you need to stick to your chairs and your desks more than 2 to 3 hours. Let's say you're at your shift. You could always take your laptops. I was just demonstrating people last night that you could lie down and work, be there in front of your laptop. You could leave your laptop for maybe a quick few seconds. If you are that sensitive, you got good listening skills, you could listen to the pings that you would get on your laptop for the calls, emails or chats. Maybe you could run and attend to those things. If you're smart and efficient enough, right, you could always multitask. When you have very low flow, right, less flow, and then when you do not have that kind of flow, you could always move around with your laptops, right? You don't have to, but move around your laptop. Stand and work for a few hours, maybe buy a desk, or maybe have a platform that is, adjustable, where you can place your laptop and stand for some time. If you do not want to change your positions, you would definitely be prone to something like slip disc and back issues. You got to change your positions. You cannot be sitting throughout and then call in sick saying that my back's hurting. And so that is something that not what we would want. We would want you to keep taking care of yourselves, like maybe sipping water, maybe trying to eat, maybe spending a little time with your kids, your family, without hampering the work. You're still working from home, we understand that, but then again, keeping a close eye on all the things that you're supposed to be.
I think the key phrase that you just mentioned is without hampering your work.
Yeah.
The reason I again stress on that statement is because people choose to ignore this part of it and do everything else, which then forces us to crack the whip on people and say, you're not moving at all. Sit there and monitor your system. Yeah. Why? Because, like I said, if you are vigilant enough, you can probably take a lie down and look at your screen, and if a ping comes in, you jump in and start responding to it, right? People find it way too comfortable and decide to take a nap and then completely forget. And that's when it's a no more lying down. Sit there. Like you mentioned, you can probably be with your family and your screen is on. You hear your ping, you quickly go, check, respond, and come back to your family. What people then tend to do is they forget that they are on shift, and they are more focused on being on the family. While this may come across as an attitude that I don't care about family time, I'm going to come back to the statement that you just made, that you can do all of it while ensuring you're not hampering work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why it is more important to focus on that is because your actions impact someone else's business.
Yeah.
It does impact our business and our relationship with our client partners, but those actions also impact the client partner's business.
Right.
When an inquiry is missed,
Right.
there is a reservation gone. That's loss of revenue.
Right.
When you don't connect utility on time, there may be a family moving into the property and may probably have to live without electricity or water or gas. And imagine the winter months in the United States when a family is moving in and has no power. Such a bad impression that the client partner's business would get when a tenant moves in and finds no utilities are connected, and they've already signed the lease and taken the responsibility of the property.
Right.
That's, if people are able to understand this very simple point, a lot of issues that we face in running our business, especially in a remote-based model, will eventually get addressed, because now you know that people are taking their jobs seriously.
Right.
The lack of intent when they log into the shifts leads to us being stringent with monitoring processes.
Right.
We don't want to be stringent.
Yes, absolutely.
We want people to enjoy the 9 hours that they log in. If, like you said, if not enjoy, at least be content with the idea that they have a workplace that respects them. But at the end of the day, if their actions are going to impact my business, then unfortunately my business is a bigger priority for me than someone else's comfort. It's a harsh statement to make, but it is a reality that we as individuals who manage and run this business have to live with. That their intent is the key to the success of our organization.
Right.
And 58 people is not the end of the road for us, right?
Yeah.
We want to go back to the glory days when we had a team strength of almost 100 people. 2020, before we lost 2 of our largest clients, I know you were processing payroll for almost 78 people. Prior to that, before British Telecom processes went back, you were processing payroll for almost 200 people, which means this organization has seen those glory days. Yes, we are in the process of rebuilding.
Yeah.
And we are taking calculated steps towards our rebuilding process. We are no further rushing into things just because we can. We also want to pick and choose, and like you've mentioned this in the past as well, that clients are picky to choose the vendors that they work with. We are equally choosy about the clients that we work with. We also want our people to be respected by our clients, right? So if we are employees, and in this case, I would rather call them as our team members, when we can think about the betterment of our team members in every possible aspect, the only expectation I have from my team members is there was 9 hours, stay loyal to your work. And then you will start seeing that the monitoring mechanisms that I put in place will probably start getting either loosened up or may get relaxed as well. I may not need everyone to come in on a bridge call and be together.
Right. Pretty much like this is for any of our team members who's trying to listen to us or watch this podcast. Like we tried giving them the space where they could enjoy work, and we saw how things were being manipulated. And now we had to bring in those stringent parameters at place where we make sure that, you stick to your computer screen, lie down and work or whatsoever, you do. I mean, off camera. Of course, if you're off camera and you're lying down on the floor and trying to work without falling asleep, we have no concerns. But if you miss a chat or miss a call, then that's a concern, and that's when we would ask you to put the cameras on, right? So what we are trying to do here is we are trying to get the people in a certain aspect of discipline, because you need to get into a habit of discipline and sense of responsibility for a few months, because you cannot just come into a system and then start enjoying without learning the aspects of discipline, right? Once you learn, it's very much like, you learn how to balance yourself on a cycle when you're starting to ride a bicycle. And then you can think of leaving your hands and doing all those acrobatic movements, maybe after 5 or 6 months, right? Because now you know how to balance things. But you got to sustain those disciplinary aspects of operations for at least 5 to 6 months. That's why they call it a probation period. So even we do have probation period for 5 and 6 months where we're watching you, not on camera definitely, but on screens, like your screens. And we want to know if you are someone who likes to be guided by people, or you are someone who likes to guide people, right? If you're that someone who likes to guide people, no matter what, you're the boss of your own destiny. You get to have that kind of privilege where you're treated like a boss and you given a team, because we trust you now, and you can lead the team while trying to work or having fun, right? Now you're the boss. Your team's working, we have no problem. But you know what you are expected to, you be wherever you are. You're supposed to be delivering a few deliverables, no client should reach the top management. No downlines should be crying and coming to the top management saying that the boss is not listening to us, or the clients are we're missing the client feedback, and then it's a problem. It's a problem. So it's again, you're going back to your comfort zone and you're trying to get into the same comfort zone that your downlines are in.
We also have a lot of people who've actually worked in a lot of BPS companies, right? And the idea of getting everyone on the bridge, one of the aspects I want everyone to understand is that Donald mentioned that there was a point in time when OH was running operations from an office, from a home-based office. We then moved to a remote-based office. People who work
From
in
home, we moved to a corporate office because it was 50 people.
precisely,
Yeah. And then home.
and then home, right? Now, when you're working from office, you have a camaraderie with a lot of people around you.
Yeah.
You can step away for a quick cup of coffee or a quick smoke break. You can go down for dinner or lunch together. You don't have that option when you're working remote.
Yeah.
And that is also one of the points that we're trying to overcome is that boredom that sets in when you are all alone. When you have family around, you still have chirpiness around you. There is someone coming and nudging you to probably have a cup of tea or come and sit for dinner, or you are hearing television in the background. There is something around you that keeps you grounded and you are aware that there are people around you. But if you are living in a different city away from your family, there is no one around you. It's just you.
Right.
And this is also what we're trying to overcome, that when you are on a bridge with the rest of your team, you have people around you.
Right.
You can unmute yourself and probably say, guys, I'm probably bored. Can we just take a 5-minute break and talk? And someone can please talk to me, right? Or you just unmute yourself and you probably just say, guys, I just need to share something. I just had a horrible chat with a guest. Can I just vent over here, right? That's precisely what we do when we work from office, right?
We don't mind you. We don't mind people back bitching about us.
It can be anything, right?
Okay.
It can be a point where someone comes and says that, guys, I want to one day really have a sit down with Yagnesh because he just doesn't listen. It's still making you feel lighter.
Yeah.
You've shared that inner frustration with a colleague.
Right.
It may be if that helps you to now start focusing back on doing things right the first time. That's exactly what I want to encourage as well with getting people together, right?
Right.
It also will help you in difficult situations. You have a difficult guest to deal with who's just not listening to you.
Right.
You're very new to your work, but you have individuals who probably worked in customer or guest facing operations for past 6 months, 7 months, 1 year. They've gained experience. And when you bring up that point on the bridge and said, guys, I'm having a very difficult guest to deal with. Anyone has right ideas how do I deal with this? While people may not know the policies and procedures of your project, they know at least the basics of handling difficult customers or guests. And they can give you inputs on how you can better pacify the individual. And that's exactly what our client partners want, right?
Yeah.
That end of the day, we handle every possible situation and the least amount of work goes to them because that's exactly why they've hired us. Right? So when you're amongst people, it's just not about a venting session. It's also about improving on what you do and learn from it. 6 months back, we had a situation where in one of our short-term rental projects, the VA was asked to troubleshoot a situation where there was no power at the property, right? Sounds straightforward. Yeah. All you have to do, especially why it was straightforward, because the VA had access to the provider name, the account number, the name on the account. When was the last payment made?
This was at the vacation rentals.
It was a vacation rental operations, right?
Okay.
Which means every possible information that you need to pick up the phone and call the service provider is there with you.
Right.
Or our client partner was even more, it was 2 steps ahead in this situation. He had already given our VA access to the online portal as well, where she could simply log in and find out which is the service provider here. Are there any outage confirmations on the website? If yes, what is the expected resolution time? This would have been a cakewalk for our other side of the business, which is utility management services.
Right.
They do this day in, day out. They troubleshoot situations when there is no utility at home.
Right.
They know exactly what to do.
Right.
Who to call, when to call, what buttons to press, who to press to get your issue resolved. The challenge here was the VA and the short-term rental side did not even know that we do this, which means she was blank. She had no clue what to do, and she kept reaching the client partner. Now, a client partner is an extremely busy individual because he also has his own medical practice. Now, while being busy attending patients, if you keep receiving a bing from someone who is managing your side business, it's irritating.
Right.
Because you continuously have to look at your phone, because now your phone is binging continuously, but you can't even ignore your patient. The client partner reached out to me saying that, why can't you just fix this simple situation? I said, let me look into it. This wasn't brought up to me. Surprisingly, the supervisor who was managing the project also did not know that we have a set of people who work in operations who manage utilities.
Wow.
Right? All I had to do is connect these two managers together. He explained his situation. Manager of the utility management side of the business gave him directions on how to fix it. Even offered that if you can give me the information that you have, I can have one of my people call the service provider and fix it. Right. That's exactly what we did. They gave the information to her. She had one of our agents call the service provider, and power outage was fixed in 5 minutes. Until then, they were struggling for 2 hours to figure out what am I supposed to do, which is also one of the reasons why I want the team to be on the bridge, is because they know people around. They know what they do. They know what we as an organization also deal. Today they have no clue. They live in a silo, and the silo is their project.
Right.
If you pull them off out of the silo, they are, for the lack of a better word, headless chickens running around knowing what not to do. Right? And that's also what I want to end. I want to ensure that person A knows person Z as well.
Right.
And knows exactly what that person Z does, because now the person knows that I have access to other individuals who can help me here.
Absolutely.
You're not just stuck to the point that ये मेरा project है और उसके आगे मैं क्या करूं. I'm sorry I switched to Hindi, but it's the easiest way to drive that emotion that it is just my project. There is no one there to help me.
Right.
No, that's not the case. You have 56 other colleagues who can help you in this situation. All you have to do is ask. And this bridge makes it easy for you to ask. So asking people to come on a bridge is not a way to punish them. A lot of people have seen this as a punishment. For some, I had to
as well. They do not know about.
For some, I had to probably try and explain that there is a better way to look at it. But then there are individuals who probably do not want to look at the brighter side. They only want to look at the negative side.
Okay.
So then you dish out the same treatment and the attitude that they would live with.
Right.
So people who want to look at the brighter side, you give them brighter side. And if people who want brickbats and will only take, I don't care, that's how you will work, well, you give them, I don't care, that's how you work attitude as well, right?
You really have no.
I really don't have that. I really don't have the option of being the nicer guy around. And I typically tell my managers that I'm the worst nightmare that you all will ever get.
I keep listening to that.
Right?
Yeah.
Why do I have to be their worst nightmare? Is because if they don't have that fear, they will not be able to drive a lot of things. It will sound like someone who's trying to run the operations with an iron fist. 60% of the times I run the operations with an iron fist. 40% of the times I'm a human being. You have to be a human being as well. You can't always be a man with an iron fist. But I'm forced to be the 60%, fall back on those 60% of the times of being the guy with the iron fist. Whereas I actually want to be the human guy as well. Right? So again, these are some of the challenges that we face in running remote operations. That's why we feel that it is important that people working remote are continuously monitored.
Right.
I wouldn't say we've mastered the art of it, but I can definitely say that we do that better than most of the larger organizations that run BPS operations in India, where they finally gave up and started putting mandates for people to come back to
the office.
They realize that it is a continuous nightmare that the managers will live in when they manage their people working remotely. I don't say my managers live that nightmare every day. Honestly, they do. But we've figured out ways to ensure that we still enjoy that nightmare and ensure that our client partners experience a seamless service from us. At the end of the day, that's what defines us and separates our identity when we are compared to a lot of other companies from Philippines and Latin America. Is our ability to stand out with a commitment to our client partners. Donald, thank you so much for spending time and
Pleasure.
walking us through your experience. It has been encouraging to share my thoughts as well. Again, like you said, anyone who will listen to our podcast, especially our employees, I really want them to understand why do we do things the way we do. And people, for more such insights on the challenges that one faces in running a virtual assistant's business, don't forget to share, subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, before we could just end, I'd like to bring this one into notice. Like, we started training people who are looking for jobs and lack communication skills. We have a new, now we started with a website called practiceenglish.online. So if you're anyone who is wanting to work from home since a very long time, we have genuine opportunities where you could be a part of the operations, provided you have the required communication skills. If you have the ability to understand, comprehend, and represent the information to the native English speakers, verbally and written wise, you could very well be a part of the operations. However, if you think that you lack any of these skill sets, specifically the communication skills, you could always take a look at our website, practiceenglish.online. The links will be in the description. And if you simply want to apply for our jobs, work from home jobs, yes, our parent company's website is wingedhuman.com. It's like wingedhuman.com. Check out the careers section, and then you could find the details about the jobs. And if you want to inquire more about our background, definitely scour through the website. You'll get to know everything. We have listed everything over there, right from our registrations numbers in the US to India, and the addresses.
We'll also leave links to mine and Donald's LinkedIn profiles in the description.
Right.
We believe in transparency. We want people to know us for who we are.
Right.
And if you believe you're right fit to work with us, we're always excited to meet you and screen you.
Until then, take care. Thank you so much for listening to us.